Good afternoon. I guess we're going to talk about MRI Global. And so tell us why we're here, then we'll hear from the county, and then if you have anything to add, well then you can add it.
Can you hear me okay?
As long as you do that, yes.
Okay, I won't use that.
No, if you do that, it's good.
Okay. All right, good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Scott Lindstrom. I'm an attorney with the Polsinelli Law Firm, and I represent MRI Global in connection with the property at 122 Ozark Street in North Kansas City. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'm joined by my colleague here, Tony Ruo, and Jonathan White with MRI Global. John is the Senior Director of Integrated Pharmaceutical Services at MRI Global. I'm going to have Tony pass out to you a little brief agenda that we prepared today and a floor plan that we plan to go through.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I did want to make this clear that this is not a challenge to the appraised value of the property. What we're here today is to talk about an appeal from the assessor's denial of a property tax exemption for this property. MRI Global is formerly known as the Midwest Research Institute. It's a Missouri nonprofit corporation and a federally tax-exempt organization under 501c3. The simplest way to describe MRI Global is that it is a nonprofit scientific research and development organization. Its mission is to use science and technology to create solutions for a safer, healthier, and more sustainable world. In practical terms, MRI Global conducts scientific research for the public benefit. It includes research towards disease prevention and treatment, public health preparedness, and other scientific initiatives undertaken in collaboration with government agencies, U.S. government agencies, universities, nonprofit institutions, and other research organizations. We recognize that MRI Global's federal tax-exempt status does not itself decide whether this particular property is exempt under Missouri property tax law. What matters is how the property is actually and regularly used. If you look at the agenda here, we're on item 3 here. Missouri has a 3-part standard to determine exemption, and it's based on the Franciscan case. It's called the Franciscan test based on that 1978 case. And there's 3 elements to that. Whether the property is actually and regularly used for charitable purposes, whether it's owned and operated on a nonprofit basis, and whether the dominant use benefits an indefinite number of people and society in general. And we believe that the clearest way to show how these elements are met is to have John here from MRI Global walk through the floor plan of this building at 122 Ozark Street and walk through the layout and kind of explain what goes on in this building. So I'm going to let John here talk about that. If you switch to your next page, it's the floor plan.
All right, thanks very much, appreciate it. Yeah, as noted, if you look at the second page on the floor plan, you'll see a depiction.
Sir, can you speak up, please?
Sorry, let's get a little bit closer. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that better? Okay, so if you're looking at the second page there, you'll see a depiction of the facility that we operate. Basically, the entrance is on the lower left-hand corner of the building, where you would enter. The area down there is office space that's occupied by the group that works there. As you move to the right half of the warehouse area, you'll see a variety of areas that we work in. Generally, the work that we do is for various agencies like the National Cancer Institute, National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Disease, and other government agencies who are interested in developing research that's oriented towards new medicines, kind of future medicines that can be used for various diseases. They often work in areas that are understudied or not really commercially viable. So like a large pharmaceutical company may be looking at a treatment for cancer where their objective is actually to make that, and of course it will help people, but large pharmaceutical companies are also interested in profitability, whereas the work that we do is actually more focused on areas that have more of a scientific intrinsic value. So for example, cancer prevention is something that we study a lot, where we're looking at making investigatory drugs that need to go through research and investigation in things like clinical trials. These investigatory studies are really, the output of which is usually a publication to show that science can kind of move things forward to better understand the disease like cancer and how to prevent cancer from taking place initially. So the old adage of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure really kind of plays here. There are other organizations such as the National Institute of Neurological Disorder and Stroke who are looking at diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. These diseases often take a long time to study, and again, commercial pharmaceutical companies may not have the patience for that or see the return on investment. So the government comes in and wants to look at those sort of things. They want to study those, and they work with organizations such as ours to really study these really important questions that are on the scientific front. So to support them, we do a variety of activities that are actually conducted in this facility. We support both the study of these drugs as well as the production of these materials that can then be used for things like clinical studies or clinical trials. Again, the idea here is if we are able to make these materials, we have areas that are listed for like repository where we store the materials. We will ship them over to clinical trial sites, which is usually like an academic center. So for example, University of Kansas is one that we work with, as well as a variety of other universities throughout the United States, where we send these materials to. They will then conduct their study and see, if the drug is actually working as intended, and if it has some good scientific output. The consequence of all these studies, as was stated on the first page, is really to help benefit an indefinite number of people in society in general. It's generally what we're trying to do, as was noted with our mission statement. And really the whole space that we're using there on that side of the building is used really for this purpose. On the left side of the building, with a big box there labeled government work and defense operations, this is work that we're also doing for the government, again, to kind of serve the public with work that we're doing with the Environmental Protection Agency as well as the Department of Defense. Happy to go into more details there as needed, but my expertise is really on kind of the right half of the facility. So as you kind of, again, look at that right half, all of the facility that's being used is really in support of all of these different programs. We do also support National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. The objective of that program is really to look for materials that could be potentially harmful to humans with impact over a long period of time. So for example, if there was a question on is bisphenol A in baby bottles, deleterious or harmful to someone's health over long-term exposure, those are some questions that we answer through the studies and the work that we do. So I'll kind of stop
John,
there.
why don't you give an example of a drug maybe that you
Sure.
can think that maybe was something that was evaluated, researched at the facility?
Yeah, that's so thanks for that. And I think an illustrative example will be helpful. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with breast cancer. It's one of the leading causes of cancer in women. And one of the hard things about breast cancer is that even though treatment has become really pretty advanced these days, there is always a chance that folks will have a recurrence or a relapse of breast cancer, even if it's successfully treated. So to help with that, there is a drug that's commonly used called tamoxifen. This drug is helpful. It's taken chronically for a long period of time. But one of the challenges with tamoxifen is that it has a lot of side effects to it. So the work that we are doing is to see if there's a better way or better solution for that. And so working with the National Cancer Institute, again, the Division of Cancer Prevention, we helped to develop a novel drug that they're looking at, that they're studying, called, there's two of them, one's hydroxytamoxifen and one's indoxifen. So the work that we did there was to develop a kind of, through research and development, novel formulation for that drug That drug is actually in clinical studies, and it's being shown to be much more safe and effective than a drug like tamoxifen. So the idea there would be that if ultimately that could be proven scientifically that that's a better option for folks, that could eventually be turned over to, say, a pharmaceutical company who they may want to develop that in the future. Our study right now is to look at how we can advance that drug, make it better, and see if it actually works, or if there's other things that we can do to advance prevention of things like breast cancer, because again, that's a really important area of research right now that we're working on. There's a myriad of other examples that are just like that with drugs that you may have heard of, but again, we're looking to generate those second, third, fourth generation options to see what we can do. The underlying study of the disease is also really critical, so we can understand what is the cause of these sort of things. How does cancer develop? What treatments might be available for it? And again, these are just really important questions that we're really excited to have the opportunity to work on.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you walking through the floor plan. We're happy to answer any questions you might have about the floor plan, but our view is that each of the elements of the Franciscan test are met here for a total exemption of the property, and that we're here today to ask the board to reverse the assessor's determination and grant a full exemption for the property.
So you all do research, you generate your revenue through grants or?
That's exactly right. Government grants, government contracts,
Yeah.
and research-related grants.
And so you come up with this pill that you're talking about, and then you sell that? Or what do you do with it once you've come up with a pill that's going to cure women's breast cancer or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's really up to the government to decide what they want to do with that. Oftentimes, what they will do is, if it looks like it's going to be successful, they will then transfer that over to a pharmaceutical company that might be interested in it, and let them kind of take it from there. The government, as you know, is not.
Well, you don't give it to them, do you?
Sorry?
Do you sell it to them, or?
No, we do not.
We contract on behalf of the government, so we provide the testing results to the U.S. government, the National Cancer Institute, and what they decide to do with the drug once it's tested, that's up to them on what they do with the drug companies. We're only doing the testing part of the drug. We're not selling
So
it. We
you
don't
just
own
contract with the government?
That's right. We don't
Okay.
own the drug. We don't have. There's not inventory there that is sold.
I got it.
It's the research and testing phase of it on behalf of the government, or through the FDA process to clear a drug. We're just doing that. We don't own any of the drugs itself.
Are the employees that you have, how many employees do you have in this building?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part? Are the employees?
How many employees do you have in the building?
How many employees do you have in the building there?
Oh, in the building, we probably have around 20 employees in that building.
Between all of the entities?
Correct, yeah.
And how many of those are MRI Global employees?
All of them.
So are they W-2 employees?
Are they what employees?
Are they W-2 employees or 1099 employees, or they work on a charitable basis?
Oh, they're MRI Global employees, yeah, W-2.
Full W-2 employees.
Yeah.
They're not independent contractors.
So you receive money from the government that you turn around and pay these employees, is that right?
Correct.
So explain to me nonprofit. What's your definition of nonprofit?
Yeah, I can help. And Tony over here is one of our nonprofit experts here at the firm, and she can explain how the tax exemption works on the federal side for a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, so the organization does employ people to work at MRI Global, but this is not different than any other nonprofit organization. They have employees who do the work for the property that we're discussing. So when we talk about Missouri property tax exemption, we're looking toward what the property is used for. And here that use is charitable, and the employees that are being employed, despite them being W-2 employees by MRI Global, they're working towards the charitable aspect that is done at this property.
Well, who owns the building?
MRI Global.
And is there a mortgage on it?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
So there's no, who pays the utilities?
MRI Global and the property taxes, MRI Global as the organization pays the expenses of it. They use the government grants to pay part of that. They have expenses like other nonprofit organizations would.
How about the equipment that's in it? Do you guys file under a personal property tax for that, or what?
We do, yeah, it's included in our property tax that we pay here to Clay County.
So you pay personal property tax,
Yes,
but you're wanting to use this argument to avoid paying real estate tax because you think you meet these three criteria?
we do think that, yes. We wanted to use the benefits of Missouri law to get an exemption like other organizations that meet that test here in Clay County, to have an exemption from property taxes that allow us to use more of that expense to further our charitable mission.
Okay, let's hear from the county.
Good morning. My name is Lucas Wallingford. I work for the Clay County Assessor's Office. We do not believe the use of this property meets any part of the Franciscan test for charitable exemption. We don't believe that the work that the group does, while laudable, qualifies as purely charitable. Charity is defined as a gift, where something is given without compensation in return. In this case, all the work that the organization does is pursuant to contracts, which are negotiated with government and corporate clients. Their services are not available to the average person. You have to have, a lot of money to purchase their services. They retain the right and do exercise that right to retain intellectual property and profit off of that. Let's see. Their IRS return 990 is the tax return for exempt organizations. It lists approximately 6.5 million in unrelated business revenue. That's revenue which would be subject to income tax and not under their exemption. They have incentive compensation plans that falls within operating on a for-profit basis. And let's see where it is. And they have shown in their financial statement that they have member distributions, which are amounts being taken out as profit to be given to other entities' members. So that's really all three aspects of the test that they don't pass. It's not available to the public, which is the third one. They only work for government and corporate clients. No one can just request that they do research on a subject, a topic of interest, and get them to do that. They do it based on what their financial statement describes as standard charges for goods and services, but includes a reasonable profit as it defines it there. The only document that I think you might want to see is the compensation page from their tax return. I don't have copies, but this is from their application. These are the highest paid officers.
But if it's 501c3, why wouldn't that?
John, are you on this list?
Pardon?
There's the second page.
Okay, yes.
But if it's.
Pardon me?
It's on the second page. It's not.
Pull it up. Let's jump and see it.
Let me see this.
But if it's a 501c3,
There's a different test for exemption. That's an operational test, an organizational test. That's what the IRS has. In Missouri, it's this three-part Franciscan test, which is based on the use of the property. Income tax doesn't have that use requirement. Because for property tax, you incentivize the property to be used for exemption.
what we've done in the past, if I recall,
This did come here in 2018.
we sent it to Jefferson City. We
We
didn't.
denied it, they did not appeal at that time.
Sorry, I'm short here.
Previously, MRI did apply, and I think it was 2018 or 2019. Before the-
Scott, what's all this?
That is the, what was attached to our appeal. It is our 990 that gets filed with the U.S. government. It's our tax return that gets filed for a charitable organization. The entity is recognized as a tax-exempt organization and a nonprofit corporation under Missouri law, and a tax-exempt organization for U.S. tax purposes and Missouri tax purposes. And so that's documentation that is the tax return and the audited financial statements that we submitted with the application.
And Lucas, this is where you were pulling information from? Gotcha.
That's correct.
Do you have any other things to add?
Yeah, I will. If we go again through the elements, we respectfully disagree with the assessor. There are three elements. The first is regularly used for charitable purposes. The Missouri courts have previously held that scientific research is a charitable purpose, and that's all we're doing here at the facility is scientific research. The property must be owned and operated on a nonprofit basis. We're a Missouri nonprofit entity. We're a tax-exempt entity recognized by the U.S. government and the state of Missouri. There are no private party leases or control of any portion of the buildings. And there are no net profits that are distributed to private individuals. We're allowed under, there's no law that says you can't pay a reasonable compensation to an employee of our organization, and that would defeat the Missouri property tax. We're not distributing profits to, there's no owners, shareholders that we're distributing profits to. We are paying reasonable compensation. And there's studies that we have to do from a federal tax standpoint to make sure that the compensation's reasonable for the size of the organization. And the third element is the property's dominant use must benefit an indefinite number of people. And I think John's example of a cancer drug that is being researched from our organization shows that it's benefiting an indefinite number of people. We're trying to make a better world and a healthier world through the research that's conducted to get a pharmaceutical drug approved by the FDA, and that's could be ultimately used to prevent disease in the first place or treat disease that's there. That's the whole purpose of the organization, is to benefit an indefinite number of people. So we feel strongly that we meet all three elements of the test and respectfully disagree.
Are the people that work there, like this list that we just looked at, do they live in the Kansas City metro area?
Yes, sir.
All of them?
I don't know if everyone on the list, but I assume
Like the president, let's just say.
Yes.
So that person, this is his or her sole focus, is it?
Yes.
John here lives 10 minutes away from where we're at right now.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I live 10 minutes away from here. The folks that are on the list also live in Missouri. A lot of the folks that, or Missouri or Kansas in this region, a lot of the folks that are at the organization have been there for many, many years. I myself have been with the organization for 20 years. So we have a lot of folks that are, doing this work for a long period of time.
I want to say the
Scott-
organization was started in the
Early 30s.
Early
Early
30s.
30s, early 40s. They've been exempt for federal tax purposes since that time. I think our determination letter was attached in the application. And they've been in Kansas City for that entire period as well.
Okay, thank you. Lucas brought up a point about you're holding the intellectual rights to these findings that you have. Is that correct, Lucas?
Yeah, that's what is said in the audited financial statements, it mentions that.
And those would be an opportunity at some point down the road to make money, would it not?
I will also say that the 990 and the audited financial statements is for entire MRI Global. MRI Global has a handful of properties throughout the Kansas City metro. So we're focused on the Clay County property.
No, I'm asking you the question.
Yeah.
On intellectual properties that you have listed that you apparently still hold, does that potentially represent future profits? That's my question.
I think that's you.
Yes, it's correct that we can have patents or intellectual property. Any revenue or any additional money that's generated from those would be fed back into the organization and reinvested in the institute. We don't have shareholders. It's a nonprofit organization. So it's true that we can, in fact, have intellectual property. And if we did generate income from that, that income would go right back into the organization to basically, as you alluded to earlier, enhance the facility or make it, better so we can do more work. But I will also note that since I've been there, there's nothing that comes to mind that's really stands out where that's actually been a source of income for us.
Why would you want it then?
I'm sorry?
Why would you want that then? Why would you want to have rights to intellectual property if you think that it serves no purpose?
Well, it does serve a purpose in that if we are able to invent something and then we are able to license that invention to, say, a pharmaceutical company, for example, those royalty funds or that additional funding would come to the organization. We could then use that funding to do additional research.
But it looked like profit, correct?
Not in a for-profit sense. It would basically just be an additional revenue stream.
Be additional what?
Revenue.
Yeah, which is profit, isn't it?
Well, no, not if you use the funding for from a cost perspective, right? So if the money's coming in as revenue and we turn around and use it to build capabilities or enhance what we're doing or do additional resource, the revenue coming in is offset by the cost that we would spend, and so the profit on the bottom is zero.
What about the bonuses that he mentioned? How does that play into it?
Again, we're allowed to pay reasonable compensation. All of our compensation has to be tested and be reasonable for IRS purposes. So it's not like a typical corporation that retains profit and distributes that out in addition to salary as dividends. Our governing documents and nonprofit law and tax-exempt law do not allow us to do that. We do not have owners that receives dividends for that. We're a nonprofit, so we do have to invest our revenues back into our expenses of the organization. We don't retain profits to be distributed to private persons.
But they do receive bonuses, isn't that correct?
Tony, is there bonuses on that?
There are bonuses on the 990, yes, but like Scott said, this while for federal purposes, this compensation, even the bonuses has to be reasonable, and that doesn't take away from the property being charitable and doing all the charitable work that they are doing.
Reasonable in whose point of view?
There are testing and IRS standards that make sure that you meet reasonable compensation. If you are unreasonable and fail those tests at IRS standards, you could lose your charitable tax exemption from a federal tax standpoint. And so we have to go through rigorous tests to make sure we maintain our federal tax exemption status, and we have not had a violation of that. We're still recognized, as we have been since the 1930s, as a tax exempt organization.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do you have anything else?
No, thank you for your time.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming in.
Thank you.
You'll get a letter, I think, in the next 10 days or so.
Okay, appreciate it.
Sorry, I should have had you sign in, if you don't mind, just.
and Alina Hama Amin. Are they not here? Okay, we're talking about the property on Wynn Road. Yeah, 3746 Northeast Wynn Road.
Correct.
Okay, let's hear from the county.
Mike Jacoby, Clay County. This is an old neighborhood grocery store. It's zoned R6, which basically states this can be used as a neighborhood serving retail, a daycare, nursing home, religious assembly, police or fire station, or utilities and service. We just have this on at the cost approach, with the main building on for $62,900 or $14.78 a square foot. There's 3 storage sheds on this that equal $13,800 or $5.52 a square foot. The rest is the land that is on for $3.14. So, I mean, this total is on for $28 a square foot.
Didn't this property just change hands?
No, it changed hands in 2016. We heard it 2 years ago
Right.
because they wanted it changed to residential zoning.
Right.
Because they said it's zoned R6. Well, R6 is what I just explained to you. And it could be a neighborhood grocery store, a neighborhood serving retail, nursing home, religious assembly, and they're wanting to do it. Originally, this was a grocery store, and Kathy, the previous assessor, sold it to these people. When they bought it, they did nothing with it for a while, and then they tried to do some kind of trucking company out of it, and the city of Kansas City said, no, you can't do that. And so then they said, well, we want it zoned residential, and we're going to live in it. And it's not a livable place. It doesn't qualify as a residential property.
But the store, it's not open yet, is it?
No, it's never been opened since
Okay,
they
well,
bought
it
it.
seems to me like there was an article in the paper that they were getting ready to open like an ethnic type store.
If they are, we haven't seen it.
Is that Roll Fresh? That's down the street, right from.
Okay, all right, got it.
So,
Thank you.
I mean, it's on for $28 a square foot.
Okay.
We got to check.
I don't think that we can hear this, any of these,
Why?
because he's